Senator Ali Ndume has been suspended for 6 months. The suspension of the senator continues to generate reactions as the legality of the senator's decision has been called to question. Could it be a hatchet job against the Borno senator? And as the obvious friction between the Buhari government and the Nigerian Senate continues to raise dust, the president has moved to settle the crisis that snowballed into some political unrest between the ruling APC. And that's our focus on the program. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Wherever you are, get seated and get set. The conversation will start now to some political atmosphere that is heating up in the nation. And now a lot of people are talking about this one, the Senate and President Momodu Buhari's executive arm of government. Well, yesterday was an interesting scenario where senators sent home one of their own for 6 months. Senator Ali Ndume from Borno State has been suspended by the Senate. This was consequent upon a motion he raised about some report online about Senator Bukola Saraki, the Senate President, and a colleague of his, Senator Dino Melaye, about his certificate. There was an investigation of the Ethics Committee, and thereafter, Senator Ali Ndume was suspended. Well, there are reactions over this matter. One is coming from a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana. He said the purported suspension of Senator Ali Ndume is the height of the serious illegality in the Senate. Take a look at some of the other things Mr. Falana said. He went further to say, however, I quote now, if the Senate remains intransigent, the executive branch of the government should adopt decisive measures to terminate the reign of impunity in the National Assembly. Well, those are the thoughts of Mr. Falana. Let's get talking about this and let's get perspectives on this matter. My guest joining us on the program from our Abuja studio is a former commissioner in Edo State and an APC member, Mr. Kasim Afegbua. And from the United States is a former presidential candidate of the NCP, Chief Dele Momodu, joining us from the United States. Many thanks, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Let me begin with you, Chief Dele Momodu. It's been interesting indeed because these times a lot of people will think the budget is on in the quarters of the National Assembly, and when we are hearing issues like this and the suspension of a senator for raising a motion about what concerns some of these senator colleagues, and at the end of the day it was suspended. What do you make about that action, for example?
Well, I'm not too worried about what the senators will do to one of their own. They have their standing rules, and I'm sure they would have checked that before they took that decision. What I'm worried about is that Nigeria is bleeding. Senators would always fight. Politicians would always fight. When things are going right, they don't talk to us. It's only when things go very bad that everybody then begins to complain. A lot of people get into power and then they are fine. But the day something goes wrong, then everybody will shout. I'm worried because the executive and the legislature don't seem to be working together. And there is separation of power in the laws of Nigeria. And my advice, and I've always written about this in my pendulum column in this day newspaper, is that our leaders should pity Nigerians. Nigerians voted for this government so that they can alleviate poverty, reduce the suffering of the people, create job opportunities, maintain security of lives and properties. But what we have seen repeatedly is a situation where the leaders are fighting for power. They are not fighting for Nigerians. So whoever argues that the senators can sack Senator Ndume or not, or suspend him, the thing to talk about and worry about is what we promised the Nigerians when we campaigned for the APC government. I'm not a member of APC, but Nigerians rose in unison to support this government because they believe that they will perform better than the reckless and irresponsible government that was there before. But today, everywhere we go, people are pointing at us and accusing us of inviting pestilence on Nigeria, and it's just unfortunate. So I pray, you see, because just last month, some of us were very excited that things were beginning to look very rosy for Nigeria. Politicians were beginning to cooperate. We saw the vice president visit the Niger Delta. It did not matter whether he was visiting PDP state. Everybody needs to support this government to succeed. And the government must help itself by putting its house in order. The earlier we can do that, the better. I'm not too bothered about who suspends who. If they follow the rule of law, if they don't, then the man who has been suspended has a right to go to court. But we should not set fire to the village because we want to catch a few rats. There are too many problems confronting our country today, and all we read about, if you go on social media, you will think there is war in the land. It is very unfortunate, and I personally would appeal to the president to embrace peace. The only way Nigeria can move forward and make progress is to have peace. You can see, I'll give my example from the United States of America just last week, when President Donald Trump tried to push some bills through and he couldn't. He pulled back because he knows that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. But this, you must sack this then Senate, you must sack this House of Reps, it's not going to help our matter.